Christians that hold that view. There are preterist Christians, okay? To me, that is like, you're taking the same type of hermeneutics that cults like the Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormons and churches like the Roman Catholic Church, and you're taking this hermeneutic that is not a literal grammatical hermeneutic and applying it to Scripture, and that's how they're getting that. So I don't buy that. I think if God wanted us to know something, He's going to tell us what He wants us to know, and I think God did in the book of Revelation. I don't think He gave us a secret book that we have to have some kind of special knowledge to decipher. I don't believe that. I don't accept the preterist view at all. Did I make that clear that I hate the preterist view? I hate it. I would stick my fingers down my throat and throw up if it was possible up here. Okay, it's just stupid and horrible. Then there's the historic view, the historical view. That view teaches that Revelation is like all of history, from the time of John all the way through to the present, or all the way through to the end. And if you take if you have a timeline from the first century to whenever the end of the world happens, you take Revelation and you stretch it over that timeline, and it's in a chronological order over that historical period. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, not as bad as a preterist view, but I don't buy that either, because that you start taking historical things and trying to fit them into the book. Okay, well, it's obvious that this section's talking about Hitler. You see what I'm saying? And if you get 10 different people that accept the historical view in a room, and you sit them down, and you won't be able to get them to agree on any passage of what actually is the historical occurrence that's behind it. You see what I'm saying? It's again taking Scripture and trying to fit it into a preconceived idea again. The historical view says that symbolism in the book can't be understood. Okay? We're going to show you why symbolism can be understood in the book of Revelation as the series goes on. While I'm there, another extreme, whereas they say the symbolism can't be understood, the other extreme is that the symbolism can be understood, and then you start coming up with crazy concepts of what the symbolism is. An example of that would be the number of the beast, 666. You take that number and you dissect it and you try to turn it into a person. I've heard on websites and I've seen on websites and heard on the radio and stuff, all these different interpretations of who 666 is. From Mussolini to Hitler to George Bush to Bill Clinton to Mel Gibson. I mean, you can take 666 and you can dissect it and turn it into, and they apply different values to the numbers and and do all this stuff, and you can make it say whatever you want again. That's another extreme that should totally be avoided, because it doesn't fit in the historical, grammatical interpretation of Scripture. Again, if God wanted us to know something, God can tell us something, and I believe that God did tell us something that He wanted us to understand, not some secret mumbo jumbo that you have to have some secret power to decipher. The third view of Revelation is the idealist. Okay? This is basically saying that Revelation isn't literal, but it's an allegory of good versus evil. Okay? And basically what it's showing you is how evil is, how good is, and that God, as good, will triumph in the end. Okay? That's the idealistic version. Now we're coming to version 4, which is the right version. Okay? And that's the futuristic version. That's where you take the historical, grammatical method of Scripture, just like you would interpret any other book. Okay? When the Apostle Paul says that we're saved by grace, not by works, Ephesians, you take that at face value, what do the words mean? And that's what it means. And Revelation is the same way. It's a document that God wanted to relate to us, what He wants us to know, and if God's going to relate something to us, it can be understood. Okay? By applying any way that you read any other document. Alright? The word revelation or apocalypse means to reveal. Okay? Please notice that the word is revelation. It is not revelations. Okay? John did not receive revelations. John received a vision, a revelation. I get a kick out of when these know-it-all people who think that they have some weird idea what Revelation teaches, and they'll be on like a Discovery Channel program, or they'll be on some news broadcast, and they'll say, well, the book of Revelations, okay? Immediately it shuts my mind off. Well, he doesn't know what he's talking about because he doesn't even know what the name of the book is. Okay? So remember that. The name of the book is Revelation, singular. The book, much of the book is clear. Okay? Much of the book, you read it and you understand what it's saying, just like any other text in the Bible. There are some symbols in it. Some of the symbols are explained, okay, right in the text, where it'll tell you this is the symbol, this is what it means. And some of the symbols are not explained. There are no direct quotes from the Old Testament. Will you keep that kid quiet? Just kidding. There are no direct quotations from the Old Testament, like in other books, like in Matthew or Paul. You know, a lot of times they quote the Old Testament. There are no direct quotes from the Old Testament, but there are about 550 references to the Old Testament, of things in the Old Testament. Most of the stuff in the first 20 chapters is found in the Old Testament. Okay? Only the last 2 chapters are new. Okay? There's no Old Testament prophecy centered on the eternal state. Whereas the New Testament writers talk about the eternal state a lot. Like, say, Jesus, when he says, I'm going to prepare a place for you, right? All right? The Old Testament prophets do not talk about the eternal state. The New Testament prophets do, and that's what the last 2 chapters of Revelation is about, is the eternal state. Now, what Revelation does do with the Old Testament is it takes all these scattered references from the Old Testament, okay? These 550 references that I mentioned, and, where Isaiah would make a reference, or, Jeremiah would make a reference, Ezekiel would make a reference, and what Revelation does is it takes it and puts it all in a chronological order so that we can understand what the Old Testament prophets were talking about. You know how Cliff talked about progressive revelation? Okay? God gave us all these prophecies that we couldn't understand the literal meaning of them until you have the book of Revelation, because that's where you take them and you go, well, this prophecy goes here, this goes here, this goes here, and it gives us a chronological understanding of what the Old Testament prophets were talking about. The whole book can be broken down into these divisions. Chapter 1 is the revelation of Jesus Christ. 2 or 3 is the message to the churches. Okay? The present-day churches. 4 to 5 is worship directed to the Lamb. Chapter 6 to 19 is the tribulation. Remember when we had the chart? We had the 7-year tribulation period? Okay, those chapters solely deal with the tribulation. Chapter 19 is the second coming. 20 is the millennial kingdom and judgment, the great white throne judgment. And 21 is the eternal state. Okay, that's how the whole book can be broken down. The key verse is Revelation 1:19. Therefore write the things which you have seen, and the things which are, and the things which will take place after these things. Okay? You can take the book of Revelation, you can break it down into those 3 things. The things that John has already seen, the things that are currently happening, and then future events. And you'll see as we go through Revelation that it's neatly broken into those. First couple chapters talk about Jesus and what Jesus did. Then you have the messages of the churches, okay, which are things that are, and then the future events that take off. The number 7 is used on and on again in the book. Just to give you some examples here. There's 7 lampstands.